Have you ever found yourself waking up in the middle of the night, frustrated by that sudden, urgent need to rush to the bathroom? You're not alone, and honestly, it's something many older women, including myself, have silently struggled with. It's a quiet nuisance that creeps into our nights, stealing the peaceful rest we once took for granted. I remember those restless nights all too well, tiptoeing down the hall in the dark, hoping not to wake anyone, wishing desperately to just sleep through without interruption. But here's the good news. You don't have to accept this as your new normal. There are simple, doctor-approved habits that many women just like you and me have started practicing. Habits so easy to incorporate into your daily routine that they don't feel like a burden. These small changes can bring great relief, helping you reclaim your nights and wake up feeling refreshed and energized. What if I told you that just by adjusting a few everyday habits, you could reduce those nighttime bathroom trips and enjoy deeper, uninterrupted sleep? In this video, I'll share 8 gentle but powerful habits that have transformed my sleep and can do the same for you. You deserve to feel rested and vibrant every single day. So, what's one small change you're willing to try tonight? Share your thoughts below. I'd love to hear from you. If you are not subscribed, subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. Now, let's begin. Habit 1. Cut off caffeine by early afternoon. Let's start with something that sounds deceptively simple but can quietly change your nights. Cutting off caffeine by early afternoon. I know, just reading those words might spark a gentle protest in your mind. For so many of us, the ritual of sipping coffee or tea isn't just about the drink. It's a small pleasure, a comforting pause in the day, and maybe even a bit of company during the quiet hours. Maybe you have your favorite mug, the one with your grandchild's handprint or that faded souvenir from a vacation long ago, cradled in your hands as you enjoy your afternoon pick-me-up. There's something familiar and soothing about it, almost like a hug in a cup. But here's a little secret that took me years to accept. As we age, our bodies handle caffeine differently than they used to. I didn't want to believe it either. Back in my 50s, I could have a coffee at 3 or 4 in the afternoon and still drift off to sleep without a problem. In my 60s, I started noticing that a cup after lunch left me tossing and turning, my mind strangely alert, my body restless. By my 70s, even the innocent pleasure of a cup of black tea in the late afternoon seemed to sabotage my night. This isn't just a personal observation. It's something doctors have studied and confirmed. As we grow older, our metabolism naturally slows down. The caffeine that used to filter through our systems in a few short hours now lingers, hanging around long past its welcome. But that's not all. What many people don't realize is that caffeine is not just a stimulant for your mind, it's a direct irritant for your bladder. It can sneakily trigger those unwelcome, urgent trips to the bathroom in the middle of the night, turning a peaceful rest into a restless shuffle back and forth from bed to bathroom. I remember the moment it finally clicked for me. One night, after a particularly rough day, I treated myself to a hot cup of green tea around 5 o'clock. I thought, what harm could a little tea do? That night, I was up not once, not twice, but 3 times, each time fumbling for my slippers, navigating the hallway in the dark, and sighing as I crawled back under the covers. The next morning, bleary-eyed and frustrated, I read about how caffeine doesn't just keep you awake, it also stirs up your bladder, especially as we get older. Suddenly, all those midnight interruptions made sense. It felt like a loss at first, giving up my cherished afternoon ritual. There was a sense of nostalgia, almost sadness, like saying goodbye to an old friend. I missed that cozy warmth, the gentle energy boost, the moment to myself. But I told myself, there had to be another way to nurture that comfort without the cost of my precious sleep. So I made a promise. I'd stop all caffeine by 2 p.m., no more coffee, no more black or green tea, and yes, no more little bites of dark chocolate after lunch. At first, it wasn't easy. Old habits are persistent. I'd find myself reaching for the kettle out of routine, only to gently remind myself, not today. To my surprise, the first change I noticed wasn't just at night, but in the evenings themselves. My body began to wind down naturally as the sun set. I started falling asleep more easily. No more staring at the ceiling, waiting for rest to come. Even more importantly, the number of nighttime bathroom trips dropped noticeably. Some nights, I'd wake just once or, on a really good night, not at all. It felt like reclaiming a piece of my old self, the part that could sleep soundly through the night and wake up refreshed, ready to greet the morning. But what about the comfort and ritual of an afternoon drink? I didn't want to give that up entirely. So, I explored alternatives. Chamomile tea became my new companion, a gentle, calming hug in a cup. Peppermint tea was a refreshing treat, and sometimes I'd just have hot water with a slice of lemon or a bit of honey. To my delight, these herbal teas didn't just fill the gap, they became a new ritual, one that soothed rather than stimulated, and left my bladder and my mind undisturbed. Over time, this simple shift brought more benefits than I expected. My energy felt steadier throughout the day, no longer rising and crashing with every cup of caffeine. My mood evened out. I felt more present, less jittery or anxious. And my sleep, oh my sleep, became a source of healing again, not a nightly struggle. If you're reading this and feeling a pang of reluctance, believe me, I understand. Habits are hard to change, especially the ones we love. But sometimes, the smallest adjustments have the greatest impact. If you try this just for a week, no caffeine after early afternoon, you might be surprised by how much better you sleep, how much calmer your evenings feel, and how much less you need to get up in the night. You deserve restful nights and brighter mornings. Why not give your body the chance to find its natural rhythm again? A simple change, just a new cutoff time, might be all it takes to gently unlock the kind of deep, uninterrupted sleep you thought was gone for good. Habit 2. Time your water intake smartly. For as long as I can remember, water has been my simplest, most loyal companion. Growing up, my mother would hand me a glass and say, "Drink up, it's good for you." And later, I passed the same wisdom to my children and grandchildren. We all know how important it is to stay hydrated, especially as we get older. Our skin needs it, our joints depend on it, and our digestion is never quite the same when we fall behind. But like so many good things, there can be a catch, especially when it comes to those restless nights and unwelcome trips to the bathroom. I used to think that as long as I was getting my daily water, it didn't matter when I drank it. There were days when I'd realize, by late afternoon, that I'd barely touched my water bottle. Panicked, I'd try to catch up by gulping down glass after glass in the evening. It seemed harmless enough, until the consequences hit me at midnight, and again at 2 or 3 in the morning. If you've ever found yourself lying in bed, fighting the urge to get up, or shuffling to the bathroom while your spouse snores peacefully beside you, you know how discouraging it can feel. You're trying to do the right thing, and yet you're paying the price in lost sleep and weary mornings. It took me a long time, and a gentle nudge from my doctor, to realize that the secret isn't to drink less water, it's to drink it smarter. This, she called the hydration curve. The idea is simple, but its effect is almost magical. Drink the bulk of your water early in the day, from the time you wake up until early afternoon, and then gently taper off as evening approaches. Imagine your hydration like a gentle wave. It rises in the morning, crests in the early afternoon, and slowly ebbs as bedtime draws near. Once I understood this, I decided to experiment. I placed a glass of water by my bed so it was the first thing I reached for in the morning, even before my coffee. By lunchtime, I'd make sure I'd finished at least half of my daily intake. I kept a cheerful, brightly colored water bottle near me as I puttered around the house, doing crosswords, chatting with friends, folding laundry. I even set a soft alarm on my phone to remind me, every hour, to take a few sips. It didn't take long for the rhythm to become natural. What surprised me most wasn't just how much better I felt during the day. My skin felt softer, my mouth less dry, my digestion smoother, but how my nights began to change. As evening rolled in, I stopped pushing myself to drink just one more glass before bed. Instead, after dinner, I'd have just enough water to quench my thirst. Maybe a half glass if my mouth felt dry, or a sip of herbal tea to relax my mind. I also became a little more mindful of the foods I chose. I realized that soup, juicy fruit, or even watermelon after dinner could sneak in extra water that my bladder would remember, even if I'd forgotten. The results? Almost miraculous. The urge to get up at night gradually faded. Some nights, I still had to make one trip, but rarely more. My sleep deepened, and those dark circles under my eyes softened. I started waking up before my alarm, with energy to spare and quiet pride that I had finally outsmarted my bladder. But the best part? I never felt deprived. I still enjoyed my morning glass, my afternoon water breaks, and the simple satisfaction of staying hydrated. I didn't give up a healthy habit. I just reshaped it to fit this new chapter of my life. I know how easy it is to fall into old routines, to fill a big glass before bed out of habit or fear of dehydration. But I promise, your body will adjust. You'll find a new rhythm, one that supports your energy during the day and lets you rest deeply at night. And if you're worried about getting enough water, remember, every sip in the morning and early afternoon counts more than you realize. Think of it as investing in yourself, a gift for both your days and your nights. So, if you've been waking up groggy and frustrated, take a gentle look at your water routine. Could you shift a little more toward the morning and let your evenings be lighter? Try it for a week, just a week, and notice the difference. Your bladder, your sleep, and your spirit might all thank you. After all, getting older doesn't mean losing sleep or comfort. It means learning new ways to care for yourself with wisdom and kindness. Timing your water intake is a small act of self-love that pays off in peaceful, restorative nights. Why not start tomorrow, with that very first glass at sunrise? Habit 3. Strengthen your pelvic floor muscles, Kegels. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. When you're young, you don't think twice about the muscles you can't see. You worry about your arms, your legs, maybe your back if it twinges after lifting groceries. But your pelvic floor? That's not something that ever crossed my mind until I grew older and realized, with a mixture of frustration and embarrassment, how much power it holds over my daily life. The truth is, no one talked about pelvic floor muscles on Mother's Day. There were no group chats, no magazine articles, no clever TV doctors discussing it over coffee. It was one of those hush-hush things, a quiet secret tucked away beneath layers of polite conversation. But as the years went by, and especially as I entered my late 60s, those secrets began making themselves known, loud and clear. It started as a little inconvenience. Maybe you'd notice a small leak when you laughed too hard, or that telltale urgency when the front door key stuck and you had to wait just a moment longer. You might chalk it up to just getting older or having babies. And for a while, you accept it with a weary sigh. I certainly did. But what got to me, what made me look for answers, was waking up 2, sometimes 3 times a night, all because my bladder seemed to have lost its patience and strength. It was during a checkup that my doctor first mentioned pelvic floor exercises, or Kegels, as they're often called. I remember feeling skeptical. You're telling me I can fix this without medication, without surgery, just by squeezing some muscles? She smiled, and with the patience of someone who'd seen hundreds of women just like me, she explained how these tiny, hidden muscles form the foundation that supports your bladder, bowel, and, yes, your uterus. When they weaken with age, as they inevitably do, it becomes harder to hold in urine overnight or even during the day. But the good news? Like any muscle, they can be strengthened. I'll admit, the first time I tried, I wasn't even sure if I was doing it right. My doctor's advice was simple. Imagine you're trying to stop the flow of urine midstream. Hold that squeeze for a count of 3 to 5, and then relax. Repeat 10 times, 3 times a day. You can do this while brushing your teeth, watching TV, or waiting for the kettle to boil. No special equipment, no one knows but you. At first, it felt awkward, even a little silly. Sometimes I'd forget. Sometimes I'd lose count. But I stuck with it, mostly out of stubbornness and quiet hope that I could reclaim a bit of dignity from this stage of life. I even roped in a close friend. We made a pact to remind each other, a private little joke that kept us motivated. We'd text a K every morning, which always made me smile. The first week passed, then the second. I didn't notice much at first. Maybe a little more confidence during a sneeze, a little less urgency as I hustled to the bathroom in the grocery store. But about a month in, I realized something remarkable. I was sleeping longer before that first nighttime trip. And then, as weeks went on, there were nights I made it through until sunrise. It's not magic, and it's certainly not instant, but strengthening your pelvic floor muscles is one of those gentle habits that pay off quietly but profoundly. My friend, after 3 months, told me she could finally go on long walks with her granddaughter without planning every route around the nearest restroom. For me, it was the joy of sitting through a whole movie at the theater. No interruptions, no embarrassment, just a simple pleasure returned. The other beautiful part? These exercises aren't just for fixing leaks. They help support your overall core strength, improve balance, and even contribute to better posture. You'll notice over time that you stand a little taller and move with more confidence. For those of us who have given our bodies to years of work, family, and life's demands, it feels good to give a little back. So, if you've never tried Kegels, or maybe tried and forgot, let me encourage you. It's never too late, and every squeeze counts. Put a reminder on your fridge, write it on your calendar, or enlist a friend. Start today with just a few gentle contractions, and see how your body responds. You might not see instant results, but trust the process. Your bladder, your sleep, and your sense of self will thank you. Aging is full of surprises, some less welcome than others, but regaining control, even in small ways, is a gift worth claiming. Strengthen your pelvic floor, and you might just find new strength, comfort, and confidence in the days and nights ahead. Habit 4. Stick to a consistent sleep-wake schedule. If there's one thing I've learned in my later years, it's that my body loves a good routine. For most of my adult life, I didn't give much thought to when I went to bed or when I woke up. Some nights, I stayed up late watching old movies or talking with friends on the phone. Other nights, I turned in early, worn out from a busy day with the grandchildren or tending to the garden. Mornings were just as unpredictable. Sometimes I'd rise at dawn, sometimes I'd linger under the covers, savoring a few extra minutes of quiet before the day began. Back then, my body seemed to bounce back easily, no matter how little or much I slept. But over time, I started to notice the changes. My energy wavered. Some days, it felt like I was dragging myself through the fog. I'd find myself lying awake at midnight, mind wandering, staring at the ceiling as the hours ticked by. Even worse were the nights I woke up, always around 2 or 3 in the morning, feeling wide awake, but frustrated and helpless, knowing I'd pay for it come sunrise. One morning, over coffee with a longtime friend, we traded sleep complaints like old war stories. She told me about her doctor's advice. Treat your sleep like an appointment you can't miss. Show up at the same time every night, no exceptions. At first, I laughed. Life, after all, has a way of throwing curveballs. But the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. Children thrive on bedtime routines. Why wouldn't we? So, I made a promise to myself. I'd pick a bedtime and a wake-up time, and stick to it, even on weekends, even when tempted by a late-night rerun or an extra chapter in my book. I'll admit, it wasn't easy at first. Old habits tugged at me, especially when the house was quiet and I craved that one last snack or a few more minutes of me time. But I was determined to give it a real shot. The first week was the hardest. I'd go to bed at 10:30, close my eyes, and wait. Some nights, sleep came quickly. Other nights, my mind was busy with lists and memories, and I had to remind myself to just breathe and let the routine work. I set my alarm for 6:30 every morning, even if I'd had a rough night. There were mornings I wanted nothing more than to roll over and sleep in, but I made myself get up, open the curtains, and start the day. Slowly, something remarkable happened. My body started to recognize the pattern. As bedtime approached, I felt a gentle heaviness in my eyelids, a sign that rest was coming, almost as if my body was sighing with relief. I stopped waking up in the middle of the night as often, and when I did, it was easier to drift back to sleep. Mornings became predictable again. I found myself waking up naturally, sometimes even a few minutes before the alarm, feeling more rested and less groggy. Having a routine didn't just help my sleep, it gave me a sense of control and comfort. Each evening, I'd start my wind-down ritual, turning off bright lights, maybe taking a warm bath, or reading a few pages of a gentle story. These small acts became signals to my body. It's time to rest now. Over time, even my mood improved. I worried less, snapped less, and had more patience for the people I love. There's a kind of quiet magic in honoring your schedule. I realized that consistency is a gift you give yourself. The world may be unpredictable, aches and pains may come and go, the weather might shift, and loved ones may call at odd hours, but having a sleep-wake routine gives your body an anchor. It reminds you that you can still set your own pace, no matter your age. For those nights when I slip, a holiday, a late phone call, an unexpected event, I don't beat myself up. I just gently return to my routine the next day. It's about progress, not perfection. Every night is a new chance to practice, and every morning is a small victory. So, if you're struggling with sleep, if your nights feel restless and your days feel heavy, try setting a gentle rhythm for yourself. Pick a bedtime. Pick a wake-up time. Give it a week, then another. Let your body relearn what it already knows, that you deserve restful, reliable sleep. In a world full of change, this is one habit that brings stability, comfort, and more bright-eyed mornings than you might expect. And isn't that a beautiful way to greet the day? Habit 5. Avoid sugary and salty snacks at night. Evenings in my house used to have a certain comforting rhythm. Dinner dishes were washed and put away, the television played softly in the background, and the world outside seemed to hush for a little while. It was in those quiet moments that I found myself reaching for a little treat, a small bowl of ice cream, a couple of chocolate squares, or sometimes a handful of salty crackers. There was something about the end of the day that made those snacks feel so deserved, like a private reward for making it through another busy, sometimes challenging, day. I know I'm not alone in this. For many women, especially as we grow older, the evening snack is a cherished ritual. Sometimes it's about soothing an emotional ache, loneliness, worry, or even just a simple need for comfort. Other times, it's just habit, a part of the routine that signals the day is finally winding down. But what I never realized, until much later, was the way these tiny moments of indulgence were quietly robbing me of the peaceful sleep I so desperately wanted. It started with small annoyances. I'd lie in bed, feeling oddly restless, my mind buzzing even though my body was tired. Some nights, I'd drift off only to wake up just a few hours later, heart pounding and, of course, needing to use the bathroom. It all seemed so disconnected. After all, what harm could a little sweet or salty bite do? The truth, as my doctor gently explained one day, is that our bodies change as we age. Our metabolism slows, our blood sugar can become more sensitive, and our bladders, already working overtime, don't always respond kindly to extra sugar or salt late at night. Sugary snacks can cause spikes and drops in blood sugar, making it harder for the brain to rest. Salt, meanwhile, encourages the body to hold on to water, which then needs to be processed and, well, eliminated, often in the middle of the night. It was a hard pill to swallow at first, letting go of those familiar pleasures. There was a sense of loss, almost like saying goodbye to an old friend. But I realized that if I wanted to sleep through the night and feel truly rested, I needed to make a change. Not just for my bladder, but for my heart, my mind, and my spirit. I started small. At first, I simply paid attention. Did that scoop of ice cream help me feel better, or was it just filling a space? Was I hungry, or was I bored, or even just a little bit lonely? Sometimes, I'd catch myself heading for the pantry out of sheer habit, not true need. I made a promise to myself. After 8 p.m., I'd pause and check in with how I was feeling before grabbing a snack. On the nights when I truly wanted something, I tried to choose foods that would work with my body, not against it. A sliced banana with a spoonful of almond butter became my new favorite treat. Sweet, satisfying, but gentle on my system. Some nights, a few slices of turkey or a cup of warm chamomile tea were enough to ease me into sleep. The first week was tough. I missed the crunch of crackers and the smooth sweetness of chocolate. But then, slowly, my body started to adjust. The changes were quiet at first. I'd fall asleep faster and wake up less often, and when I did wake, it wasn't with the same sense of urgency. I felt lighter in the morning, not groggy or weighed down. My mood improved, and I noticed that the emotional cravings that led to late-night snacking began to fade as I got more quality rest. But the best part was regaining a sense of control and kindness toward myself. I realized I didn't need to punish or deprive myself, just choose more thoughtfully. Sometimes, I'd call a friend instead of eating, write in a journal, or simply sit with my feelings until they passed. My nights grew more peaceful, and my mornings brighter. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. If you're reading this and feeling hesitant, please know you're not alone. Letting go of those nighttime treats isn't about giving up joy, it's about making room for a different kind of comfort. The comfort of deep, restful sleep, of waking up with energy and a clear mind, of knowing you're taking care of yourself in the gentlest, most loving way. So tonight, if you find yourself reaching for a snack, pause and ask yourself, what do I truly need? Maybe it's a cup of tea, a small piece of fruit, or simply a little self-compassion. Your body, and your bladder, will thank you night after night. Habit 6. Create a calming wind-down ritual before bed. I used to believe that sleep was something that just happened. After a long day, you'd brush your teeth, turn off the lights, and drift away. Simple as that. But somewhere along the line, maybe after my children left home or when my days became less hurried, I found myself lying in bed, wide awake, staring at the ceiling as the hours crept by. My mind would race through memories, to-do lists, and even worries I thought I'd put to rest. It was as if, the quieter my house became, the louder my thoughts grew. It was during one of those restless nights that I realized that my body and mind weren't getting any signals that it was time to let go. The routines that used to bookend my day, a kitchen to clean, children to tuck in, a dog to walk one last time, had faded, and without them, I was left floating, unanchored, between wakefulness and sleep. I missed that gentle transition, that sense of winding down, of being held and soothed by the ordinary comforts of a day coming to an end. So, I decided to create a ritual, a series of gentle actions that would tell my mind and body, it's time to rest now. At first, it felt almost silly. Did I need a routine at my age? But the first night I tried, I was surprised at how comforting it felt. I started small. After dinner, I would dim the lights in the living room. I'd play soft music, sometimes old jazz, sometimes the soothing sounds of rain. The glow of the television was replaced with the warm, flickering light of a bedside lamp. Next, I'd wash my face with warm water, taking my time, massaging my skin, and letting the day's tension melt away. Sometimes, I'd smooth on a little lavender lotion, the scent reminding me of the fields behind my childhood home. I kept my phone and other screens far from the bedroom. Instead, I'd pick up a well-loved paperback or flip through a family photo album. letting my mind settle into peaceful, happy memories rather than scrolling through news or worries. But the most important part of my ritual, the part one now look forward to, is a few minutes of gentle stretching. It doesn't have to be fancy, just reaching toward the ceiling, rolling my shoulders, or bending slowly to touch my toes. I move slowly, breathing deeply, letting go of whatever weight I might still be carrying. Sometimes, I'll even whisper a little thank you for the day behind me, and a quiet wish for the sleep to come. What I discovered is that this ritual became a kind of lullaby for my senses. My muscles softened, my heart rate slowed, and my mind, once so loud, grew quieter, more willing to let go. Night after night, the more I honored this wind-down time, the easier it became to fall asleep. My body seemed to learn the cues, like a favorite song that always signals the end of a long day. The benefits stretched far beyond sleep. I found myself less irritable and less anxious. My dreams became gentler and more vivid. I woke up with fewer aches and a little more hope for the new day. And maybe best of all, my wind-down ritual became something I looked forward to, an act of kindness to myself that no one else could give. Sometimes, friends would ask, "Doesn't it take too long? Isn't it too much trouble?" I would smile and tell them, "It's no more trouble than lying awake for hours, wishing I could sleep." In truth, my whole ritual rarely takes more than half an hour. The rewards, deeper rest, lighter mornings, and a feeling of being cared for, are worth every minute. If you haven't tried a wind-down ritual yet, I encourage you to give yourself that gift. You don't need anything fancy or expensive. Maybe you light a candle, listen to your favorite song, or simply sit quietly with a cup of tea. Maybe you pray, meditate, or just sit in gratitude for all that you've lived through and all that's yet to come. Remember, sleep is not just the absence of wakefulness. It's a journey you can prepare for, a gentle descent into healing and rest. With each night's ritual, you are telling your mind and body, it's safe to let go now. In doing so, you open the door to the kind of sleep that restores you night after night. So tonight, as you prepare for bed, consider what small comforts you can gather around you. A soft song, a warm washcloth, a gentle stretch, whatever soothes you most. Allow yourself to settle in, to be wrapped in peace, and to welcome sleep as an old friend returning home. Habit 7. Get morning sunlight to set your sleep clock. Some mornings, the first rays of sunlight peek through my bedroom curtains before I'm fully awake. I used to roll over, pull the covers tighter, and try to steal a few more minutes of sleep, especially after a restless night. But then I learned something that completely changed my relationship with morning, and with sleep itself. I discovered that the secret to a better night's rest might begin with what I do first thing after waking up. It's easy to underestimate the power of sunlight. For years, I thought catching some rays was just about getting a tan or feeling warm. But our bodies are far wiser than we give them credit for. Deep inside our brains is a little bundle called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, a fancy name for the body's natural clock or circadian rhythm. As we age, this inner clock can start to drift off course. The result? We find ourselves staying up too late, waking too early, or feeling tired and alert at all the wrong times. No wonder so many of us struggle to get a full, peaceful night's sleep. A few years ago, my granddaughter, who always seems to know the latest science, told me about the importance of morning sunlight. "Grandma," she said, "if you want to sleep better, try to get outside for just 10 or 15 minutes right after you wake up. It tells your brain it's time to be alert and starts the countdown to bedtime." I'll admit, I was skeptical. Could something so simple make a difference? Still, I decided to give it a try. The next morning, instead of lingering in bed, I slipped on my robe and slippers and stepped onto the porch. The air was cool and fresh, and the sun felt gentle on my face. I sat quietly with my first cup of coffee, watching the world come alive, birds chattering, neighbors walking their dogs, the distant sound of a lawnmower starting up. Something was calming about being part of the morning, about greeting the day instead of hiding from it. After just a few days, I noticed subtle changes. My energy felt more even during the day, as if my body had received the right signal to get moving. Even more surprising, when evening came, I felt naturally sleepy. No more staring at the ceiling, no more restlessness. My nights grew smoother, my sleep deeper. I started waking up at nearly the same time every morning. No alarm was needed. There's real science behind this. Natural sunlight tells your internal clock that it's morning, helping regulate the hormones that keep you awake during the day and make you sleepy at night. Artificial light, lamps, TVs, even our beloved phones, can confuse this rhythm, but nothing resets it quite like real sunshine. For those of us who sometimes feel out of step with the world, it's a gentle, natural way to bring balance back into our lives. Some days, when the weather isn't cooperating, I sit near a sunny window, my face turned toward the light as I sip my tea. On other days, I take a short walk around the block or water the plants on my porch. It doesn't have to be complicated or take long. 10 to 15 minutes is often all it takes to set your sleep clock for the day. And honestly, it's become one of my favorite parts of the day, a quiet celebration of morning. Sometimes, I call an old friend as we both watch the sunrise from different places, sharing memories and a sense of hope for whatever the day might bring. Other times, I simply breathe and let the sunlight warm me, feeling gratitude for another new beginning. If you're someone who struggles with restless nights or groggy mornings, I encourage you to give this gentle habit a try. You don't need to change everything at once. Just open your curtains wide, step outside if you can, and let your body remember what it's always known. Sunlight is not just for growing flowers, but for growing a better rhythm in ourselves. As we get older, it's easy to feel like the world spins a little too fast, leaving us behind. But with each sunrise, we're given a fresh start, a chance to reset our bodies and minds. Morning sunlight is a simple, natural medicine. Free, gentle, and always available. It may seem small, but it's one of the most powerful habits you can embrace to improve your sleep and your days. So tomorrow, when you wake up, let the light in. Let it touch your face and remind you that your body is ready to greet the world, and that a peaceful, restorative night's sleep starts with the very first rays of dawn. Habit 8. Empty your bladder twice before bed, double voiding technique. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. I'll admit, when I first heard about double voiding, I let out a little laugh. It sounded a bit too much like something my mother would have nagged me about as a child. But sometimes, it's the simplest tricks, ones we might dismiss at first, that end up making the biggest difference. Double voiding, or emptying your bladder twice before bed, is one of those humble habits that's quietly transformed my nights. If you're anything like me, you've probably found yourself making one last trip to the bathroom before bed, thinking you're set for the night. I used to follow my nightly routine almost on autopilot. Brush my teeth, wash my face, slip into my pajamas, and then, just before pulling down the covers, head to the bathroom. I'd do my business, wash my hands, and climb into bed with a little sigh, ready to drift off. But more often than not, sleep was interrupted by that all-too-familiar, urgent tug in the middle of the night. I'd lie there, debating with myself, can I make it till morning? But the answer was almost always no. Up I'd get, shuffling to the bathroom with sleepy resignation. It wasn't until I confided in a friend about my nightly struggles that she shared the double voiding trick her doctor had recommended. The idea is beautifully simple. Don't just rely on that first bathroom trip before bed. Instead, after you've gone once, go about the rest of your wind-down routine. Change into pajamas, read a chapter of a book, set out your clothes for the morning, and then, just before turning out the light, go to the bathroom one more time. Even if you don't feel much urge, give it a try. Skeptical but willing, I decided to test it out. The first night, I followed my usual bedtime routine but added that second trip to the bathroom just before I slid under the covers. To my surprise, I managed to squeeze out a little more, Not much, but enough to make me wonder if there was something to this after all. The next morning, I realized I'd slept through the night without a single bathroom trip. It felt almost miraculous. There's a reason this works, especially for those of us growing older. Our bladders, like the rest of our bodies, change with age. Sometimes, they don't fully empty in one go, leaving just enough behind to wake us later. By giving yourself a little extra time, allowing your body to truly relax between trips, you help ensure your bladder is as empty as it can be before bed. It's a small act of kindness to yourself, and one that can mean the difference between tossing and turning or enjoying a full night of restful sleep. After a week of practicing double voiding, I noticed that not only did I sleep better, but my evenings felt less anxious. No more lying in bed wondering if I should have tried one more time before turning out the light. No more wrestling with blankets in the dark, counting steps to the bathroom, or worrying about tripping over the cat. It was a freedom I hadn't realized I was missing. A sense of being in control again, of not letting my bladder dictate the terms of my rest. Of course, there are nights when I still wake up, especially if I've had extra fluids or life's little stresses are keeping me on edge. But more often than not, this simple trick makes all the difference. It's so easy, so gentle, and requires nothing more than a little patience and attention. For me, double voiding has become as much a part of my bedtime ritual as fluffing my pillow or reading a comforting poem. It's a moment to pause, to check in with my body, and to honor the little needs that so often go overlooked. Over time, it's become a quiet act of self-care, one that brings peace to my nights and energy to my mornings. So if you find yourself waking up, night after night, frustrated and weary from those bathroom trips, why not give this technique a try? After your usual bedtime preparations, simply wait a few minutes and go again. You might be surprised by the results, just as I was. Sometimes, the most effective solutions are the ones hiding in plain sight, waiting for us to notice and embrace them. Sleep is precious, and so are you. Double voiding may seem simple, but for many of us, it's the final, gentle key to unlocking nights filled with uninterrupted rest and mornings greeted with gratitude, energy, and a renewed sense of well-being. As we come to the end of this journey together, I want to take a moment to remind you that you deserve nights filled with deep, restful sleep, nights where you wake up feeling refreshed, energized, and ready to embrace the day. I know how challenging it can be when your body feels like it's working against you, interrupting your peace and stealing your rest. But I also know that small, gentle changes can make a world of difference. These 8 habits we've explored aren't just tips, they're invitations. Invitations to reclaim your nights, nurture your body with kindness, and honor the wisdom that comes with age. Whether it's cutting off caffeine early, timing your water intake smartly, strengthening those pelvic floor muscles, or embracing a calming wind-down ritual, each habit is a step toward more peaceful evenings and brighter mornings. Remember, change doesn't happen overnight, and it's okay to take it one day at a time. Celebrate every small victory. The nights you wake up less, the moments you feel calmer, the gentle progress you make. You're not alone on this path. Many women just like you have walked it and found hope, healing, and joy in their sleep once again. I invite you now to share with me, what habit resonates most with you? What small step will you take tonight to care for yourself? Your story matters, and your journey inspires others. If this video helped you, please leave a comment below, like, and share it with friends who might need a little extra rest too. And don't forget to subscribe for more caring advice, made just for you. You deserve the gift of restful sleep, and a life full of vitality. Here's to your peaceful nights and brighter days ahead.